What's up, everyone? And welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into the purple, quivering heart of one of Cartoon Network's most iconic and, let's be honest, terrifying shows. Courage the Cowardly Dog. We all know Courage for his constant state of panic, but have you ever stopped to think about what happens when he gets pushed past his breaking point? That is, what we're re-exploring today in part 1 of our series, When Courage Gets Way Too Scared. Courage lives in the literal middle of nowhere, a place that seems to be a magnet for every conceivable paranormal, extraterrestrial, and just plain weird phenomenon. His life is a non-stop barrage of threats, and his job, self-appointed of course, is to protect his oblivious and often ungrateful owner, Muriel. Her husband, Eustace. Well, he's usually part of the problem, isn't he? Always scaring Courage with that creepy mask. Ooga boo, ooga boo, ooga! Yeah, real original. Eustace, but those jump scares are nothing compared to the genuine, soul-crushing terror Courage faces daily. Let's talk about the nature of his fear. It's not just about being a cowardly dog. Courage's fear is his superpower. It's his early warning system. While Muriel is humming and baking, and Eustace is grumbling in his armchair. Courage is the only one who sees the shadow with 6 eyes, hears the whisper from the basement, or smells the impending doom in the strange, green jello. His fear is a rational response to an irrational world. The rest of them are living in a peaceful sitcom, but Courage is trapped in a full-blown horror movie, 24/7. And he's the only one with the script. Think about the episode King Ramses' Curse. The sheer, primal fear in that episode is legendary.
When that ghostly CGI pharaoh rises from the dust and utters those 3 chilling words. Return the slab. Chills. Right.
Even now. Courage isn't just scared of a ghost. He's scared of the consequence. He understands that this isn't a game. He knows that the curse is real and that Muriel and Eustace are in mortal danger. His screams aren't just noise. They're a desperate, unheard plea for someone, anyone, to listen. He tries to warn Eustace, who, driven by greed, refuses to give back the ancient artifact. The tension builds with each plague. The flooding house, the relentless locusts, and that horrible record player screeching return, the slab. Courage is pushed to his absolute limit, shape-shifting into different forms, trying every possible way to communicate the gravity of the situation. He's not just scared for Asterisk himself. He's terrified for his family.
Then there's Freaky Fred.
Oh, man. Freaky Fred. The episode Freaky Fred is a masterclass in psychological horror. It's not about a monster or a ghost. It's about a person. Muriel's creepy nephew with his unnerving Cheshire Cat grin and his obsession with being naughty. The episode is built on suspense. From the moment Fred arrives, the atmosphere shifts. The rhyming narration, Fred's calm, yet sinister voice. It all creates this inescapable sense of dread. Courage gets locked in the bathroom with him, and the entire sequence is pure nightmare fuel. The camera focuses on Courage's terrified eyes, the sound of the electric razor buzzing, and Fred's chilling monologue. The words that I wanted to hear then were ... naughty. For Courage, this isn't a physical threat in the same way as King Ramses. It's a deeply personal, psychological violation. He's trapped, helpless, and about to be forcefully shaved by a rhyming maniac. His fear is claustrophobic, and you feel it right there with him. The genius of the episode is that the scariest part isn't what happens, but the anticipation of what could happen. But what happens when the threat is something he can't even comprehend? Let's consider the man in the chicken hat, where Courage is tasked with nursing a supposedly sick chicken back to health. This chicken, Dr. Vindaloo, turns out to be a headless, crazed poultry dealer trying to steal Eustace's head. The entire concept is bizarre and deeply unsettling. Courage's fear here is born from the sheer absurdity and body horror of the situation. He witnesses this headless chicken attempting to decapitate his owner with a giant pair of scissors. How do you even begin to process that? His frantic attempts to warn Muriel are, as usual, dismissed as him just being a silly dog. The isolation is a key component of his terror. He's the sole witness to these horrors, and his inability to make his loved ones understand only amplifies his panic. It's a lonely existence, being the only sane person or dog in an insane world. Another perfect example is the episode A Night at the Cat's Motel. Katz is one of the show's most recurring and formidable villains. He's cold, calculating, and utterly sadistic. Unlike other monsters who might be misunderstood, Katz is just plain evil. He runs a motel where the main attraction is feeding his giant, radioactive spiders. When Courage and his family check in, you know things are about to go south. Courage's fear is palpable as he uncovers the truth. He's not just scared of cats. He's petrified of the spiders. The way they scuttle, their glowing eyes. It's classic arachnophobia cranked up to 11. The climax, with Courage having to face down a giant spider to save Muriel, is a testament to the show's core theme. Even when he's at his most terrified, his love for Muriel forces him to act. He has to overcome that paralyzing fear, that moment when he's completely overwhelmed, to become the hero she needs. He might be a cowardly dog, but he's also the bravest dog in the world. And we can't forget the great Fuseli, the alligator impresario, who turns people into marionettes. This one taps into a deep, existential fear the loss of free will and identity. Courage watches in horror as his owners are literally transformed into puppets, their strings pulled by this charismatic but terrifying showman. He's not just fighting a monster, he's fighting to save their very souls, their personhood. The image of Muriel and Eustace as lifeless puppets is one of the most haunting visuals in the entire series. Courage's terror is a reaction to seeing his loved ones reduced to objects, completely at the mercy of someone else. He's scrambling, shape-shifting, doing everything he can to break the spell, driven by a fear that goes beyond simple survival. It's the fear of losing everything that makes his family who they are. So, when Courage gets way too scared, it's not just a gag. It's the engine of the entire show. It's the moment before the heroism, the catalyst for his incredible feats of bravery. His fear is a reflection of the stakes, which are always life and death. He feels every ounce of danger so intensely because he loves Muriel so intensely. He's the first line of defense for his family against a universe that is actively trying to harm them. He absorbs all the horror so they don't have to. And in those moments of peak terror, when he's screaming, shaking, and literally melting into a puddle, he's also gathering the strength to do what needs to be done. What are some of the moments that terrified you the most in Courage the Cowardly Dog? Let me know down in the comments. We're going to explore even more of these spine-chilling episodes in part 2, so make sure you're subscribed with notifications on so you don't miss it. Thanks for watching, and remember, the things we do for love can make us braver than we ever thought possible. See you in the next one! Alright, gather round, folks, because we're heading back to the middle of nowhere for another dose of delightful dread with our favorite pink pooch, Courage! Welcome back to part 2 of our deep dive into the world of Courage the Cowardly Dog. In part 1, we talked about the show's unique blend of horror and heart. But today, we're talking about those moments that pushed Courage past his breaking point. Those times when the scares got so intense, even our perpetually terrified hero just completely short-circuited. You know the look. His eyes pop out. His jaw drops to the floor, and he lets out that iconic, blood-curdling scream that's become a legendary sound effect. It's not just a yelp, it's a full-body soul-living the body experience. But what truly makes these moments special is what happens asterisk after asterisk the scream. Often, when the terror becomes too much to handle, Courage's fear manifests in the most bizarre and hilarious ways.
Remember the episode King Ramses' Curse?
The sheer, unrelenting dread of that return, the slab chant, is peak childhood nightmare fuel.
When that ghostly pharaoh appears, Courage doesn't just run and hide.
He goes into a full-on panic attack, his body contorting, his mind racing, trying to explain the impossible to a blissfully ignorant youth. The slab itself, with its eerie glow and supernatural pull, wasn't just a spooky object, it was a catalyst for one of Courage's most memorable meltdowns. He wasn't just scared asterisk of asterisk King Ramses. He was scared for asterisk his family.
A fear so profound it practically liquefied him.
And that's a key point. Courage's biggest freakouts aren't just about him being a cowardly dog. They happen when the threat against Muriel becomes undeniable and overwhelming. His fear is a direct reflection of his love for her. The more he loves her, the more terrifying the world seems. Think about it. He's a small dog living in a place that's basically a magnet for every cosmic horror and paranormal weirdo in the universe. Who wouldn't be perpetually on edge?
Let's talk about another classic moment of pure,
unadulterated terror. Freaky Fred. The constant, creepy rhyming, the maniacal grin, the obsession with being naughty. The tension in that episode is as Fred gets closer and closer to Courage with those buzzing shears, we see our hero go through every stage of panic. He tries to warn Muriel. He tries to escape. He tries to reason with the unreasonable. But when he's finally trapped in that bathroom, the fear becomes suffocating. His frantic, desperate attempts to barricade the door, the sweat pouring down his face. It's a level of anxiety that's almost too real. The moment the lock of his fur hits the floor, his scream is one of pure, psychological violation. It's hilarious in its extremity, but it also taps into a very real fear of losing control and being at someone else's mercy. What makes these moments so brilliant is the visual comedy. The show's creators, led by the incredible John R. used Courage's fear as a canvas for surrealist art. When he gets scared, he might turn into a teacup, a floating eyeball, or a complex mathematical equation. My personal favorite is when his fear gets so intense that he literally pulls out a puppet version of himself to explain the situation. He detaches from his own body to try and process the sheer insanity of what's happening. It's a coping mechanism, but a bizarrely creative one. It's the show telling us, yes, this is terrifying, but it's also a cartoon, so let's have some fun with it. This visual gag never gets old because it perfectly captures the feeling of being so scared you don't even feel like yourself anymore. Then there are the villains whose very existence seems designed to make Courage's brain melt. I'm looking at you, Cats. Cats is cold, calculating, and utterly sinister. He doesn't have supernatural powers in the traditional sense. His scariness comes from his intelligence and his complete lack of empathy. In A Night at the Cat's Motel, Courage isn't just fighting a monster. He's playing a high-stakes game of chess with a sociopath. Every creak of the floorboards, every shadow in the hallway, is amplified by Katz's chilling presence. Courage's terror is palpable as he realizes this isn't just a creepy motel, it's a spider's web, and Muriel and Eustace are walking right into it. The fear here is more of a slow burn, a creeping dread that builds until Courage is forced into a heroic, yet still terrified, confrontation. And we can't forget the infamous perfect episode. The pressure to be perfect, personified by that horrifying CGI-esque teacher, is a different kind of terror. It's not a monster trying to eat him. It's an internal, psychological battle against inadequacy. His nightmares in that episode, where his flaws are magnified into grotesque forms, are some of the most disturbing visuals in the entire series. When Courage finally breaks down, sobbing that he can't be perfect, it's a genuinely emotional moment. It's the culmination of every time he's failed, every time he couldn't save Muriel right away, every time Eustace called him a stupid dog. His fear isn't just about monsters anymore. It's about his own perceived failures. The resolution, with the perfectly imperfect fish, is one of the show's most beautiful messages. It's okay to be scared. It's okay to not be perfect. And your true strength lies in trying your best despite your fears. This is the genius of Courage the Cowardly Dog. The show uses extreme fear, not just for laughs or for scares, but to explore deeper themes. It shows us that bravery isn't the absence of fear. It's acting in spite of it. Courage gets way too scared. More scared than any character has a right to be. He shatters, he melts, he screams his lungs out, but then he pulls himself together. He scrambles for his computer, he formulates a frantic plan, and he runs headfirst back into danger to save the person he loves most. His fear is a measure of his love, and his actions are a measure of his courage. He is, without a doubt, the bravest coward to ever grace our screens. What are some of the moments that you think pushed Courage over the edge? Let me know down in the comments which scene gave you secondhand anxiety. I love reading your takes on this incredible show. Thanks so much for watching and for joining me on this trip back to the middle of nowhere. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button. And if you haven't already, subscribe for more deep dives into the cartoons that shaped us. Until next time, stay courageous and maybe keep a light on. Bye! Welcome back, cartoon fans, to part 3 of our deep dive into the wonderfully weird world of Courage the Cowardly Dog. If you missed the first 2 parts, be sure to check them out. Today, we're tackling the moments when Courage gets way too scared. Now, I know what you're thinking. Isn't that just every episode? And you're not wrong. Courage lives in a constant state of panic. But we're talking about those special instances where his fear goes into overdrive, where his little pink body contorts into impossible shapes, and his scream shatters glass, and possibly the space-time continuum. These are the moments that define his character and make us wonder how his tiny heart hasn't just exploded. Let's start with a classic. The episode King Ramses' Curse. The sheer, unfiltered terror this episode induced in a generation of kids is legendary. It wasn't just a monster. It was an ancient, ethereal threat. When that ghostly slab is delivered and Courage reads the inscription, you can feel the dread building. But the moment that truly pushes Courage over the edge is when Ramses materializes outside the farmhouse. That low-poly CGI figure, chanting "Return the slab," was so unsettlingly different from the show's usual animation style. It broke the rules. Courage's reaction isn't just a scream. It's a complete system meltdown. He's zipping around, trying to warn Eustace, his eyes bulging, his pleas turning into incoherent shrieks. It's fear so pure, it's almost tangible. He knows this isn't a problem. He can just scare away with a mask. This is a curse, an unstoppable force, and his powerlessness in that moment makes his fear escalate to a whole new level. Another fantastic example is from A Night at the Cat's Motel. Katz is one of the show's most iconic villains for a reason. He's cold, calculating, and has a terrifyingly calm demeanor. For Courage, a direct, slobbery monster is one thing, but a villain who plays mind games is a whole other nightmare. The entire episode is a slow burn of suspense, but the peak of Courage's fear comes when he realizes Katz's spiders are about to devour Muriel. He's trapped, he's tiny, and he's up against a foe who is always one step ahead. His panic isn't just about his own safety, it's the terror of imminent failure. He fails to save the other guests, and now he's about to fail Muriel. That desperation fuels his fear, making him frantic. When he's playing that game of racquetball against the wall to save Muriel, it's not just a game, it's a physical manifestation of his panic. A desperate, repetitive action to stave off the absolute worst-case scenario. His fear becomes his fuel, but you can see in his eyes that he's running on pure, terrified adrenaline. Now, let's talk about a more psychological terror in the episode Freaky Fred. Fred isn't a monster who wants to eat them or a ghost who wants to curse them. His threat is much more personal. His obsession with being naughty and his creepy, incessant rhyming create an atmosphere of deep unease. For Courage, the fear isn't just of the giant razor, it's the fear of the unknown intentions of this smiling, polite madman. When Courage gets locked in the bathroom with Fred, the enclosed space amplifies the tension tenfold. Fred just sits there, smiling, sharpening his razor, while narrating his twisted thoughts. Courage is trapped. He can't run. He can't hide. He's forced to listen to this unnerving monologue. His fear becomes quiet and paralytic. He trembles. He sweats. He shaves a giant help sign into his own fur. This isn't the loud, shrieking panic we often see. This is the deep, existential dread of being cornered by something you cannot understand. And it is absolutely one of his most terrified moments. But what happens when the threat is Muriel herself? In The Mask, Courage is faced with a terrifying dilemma. Muriel's new friend, Kitty, is trapped in an abusive relationship with a gangster mad dog. Kitty's intense hatred for dogs puts Courage in immediate danger. But the real fear comes when Muriel, under Kitty's influence, starts acting hostile towards him. Imagine the one source of love and comfort in your life suddenly turning on you. For Courage, Muriel is his entire world, his safe space. When she locks him out of the house and joins Kitty in her anti-dog crusade, Courage's fear is mixed with profound heartbreak and confusion. He's not just scared of being attacked by Kitty. He's terrified of losing Muriel. He's watching his entire support system crumble. His frantic attempts to save Muriel are driven by a fear that goes beyond physical harm. It's the fear of abandonment, which for a character like Courage, is the scariest thing of all. Let's not forget the episode Perfect. This was fear of a different kind. The fear of inadequacy. After a string of comical failures, a harsh and critical teacher appears, determined to train Courage to be perfect. This teacher is a manifestation of his deepest insecurities. Every mistake he makes is met with a booming, distorted, "You're not perfect." The pressure is immense. Courage's fear isn't of a monster, but of his own perceived flaws. He tries so hard to meet these impossible standards, and with each failure, his anxiety skyrockets. The dream sequence in this episode is a masterpiece of surreal horror, where his own imperfections become grotesque monsters haunting him. This is a very real, very relatable fear. The fear of not being good enough. The moment he finally breaks, crying in the bathtub, is heartbreaking. It's only when he's visited by the fish in his mind, who assures him that it's okay to be imperfect, that he can finally overcome this specific brand of terror. It's a powerful message wrapped in a truly scary experience for our little pink dog. Another moment of pure, unadulterated panic comes from Courage in the big stinking city. Being taken from his home in the middle of nowhere and dropped into a bustling, overwhelming city is terrifying enough. But then he's tasked with retrieving an evil package from a giant cockroach named The apartment building itself is a labyrinth of horrors. Every door opens to a new nightmare. But the peak of his fear is the confrontation with Schwick in that grimy apartment. The cockroach is just so gross. And he holds Courage's life in his hands over a simple package. When Schwick threatens to do something terrible to him if he fails, Courage's imagination runs wild. He envisions himself being put on a violin and played as an instrument, a truly bizarre and horrifying fate. The pressure of the mission, combined with the disgusting environment and the menacing villain, sends Courage into a state of sheer panic. He has to overcome his fear not just to save himself, but to get back home to Muriel, which is always his ultimate motivation. Let's look at one more deeply psychological case. Heads of Beef. The episode plays on the common fear of what's really in the food.
When Eustace and Courage visit a shady diner run by a pig and a cow, Courage's imagination immediately goes into overdrive.
He doesn't see any customers, only their hats left behind. He starts having visions of the owners turning their patrons into burgers. The fear here is built on suspicion and paranoia. Every scene, from the strange meat grinder to the locked freezer, confirms his worst fears. The true moment, his fear goes critical, is when he believes Muriel is next on the menu. He pictures her head on a platter. This image is so horrifying to him that it snaps him into action. His fear becomes a powerful motivator, pushing him to investigate and try to expose the cannibal chefs. The twist, of course, is that they were just making elaborate wigs. But that doesn't lessen the genuine terror Courage experienced. His overactive imagination, fueled by fear, created a nightmare that was, in his mind, completely real. Through all these moments, from ghostly curses to psychological torment, we see that Courage's fear is as versatile as the monsters he faces. It can be loud and frantic, quiet and paralytic, or driven by heartbreak and insecurity. But what makes him such an incredible character is that despite being terrified beyond belief, he never gives up. His love for Muriel always outweighs his fear. He might get way too scared, he might scream until he's blue in the face, but when it counts, he finds a way to be brave. It's why we call him Courage. What do you think? What are some of the moments you remember where Courage was at his absolute most terrified? Let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear your pics. Thanks so much for watching part 3 of our series.
If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button, subscribe for more cartoon content, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss part 4.
Until next time, stay courageous.